What you're saying?
Yeah, and then I hear, well, my son could have been killed by an American. So I look at them because, first of all, that's insulting to a grieving mother. But it's okay. I get it. I understand. I grew thick skin. So when I hear, well, he could have been killed by an American, I tell people, yes, he could have. Absolutely, but he wasn't. Okay, now what? He was not killed by an American, and he was killed by somebody who was not supposed to be here. So my chances of still having my best friend around would be high if this guy would have been deported and kept out of here, or never even been able to come in here illegally.
Yeah, there would have been a lot of people who would have been saved a lot of grief from this guy's crimes if he had not been able to come here, or if he had not been able to get into this country illegally. Right. And not only this just goes to the point that there are people that have gotten here illegally. They have been caught. They have been deported, and they come back and they get caught again. They, 3, 4, 5 times they're deported, and they come back and they finally do some real damage to an American citizen, where the press finally gets a hold of it. The San Francisco girl, the Texas girl, the Arizona guy, all these people that were killed by illegal aliens who were arrested for other crimes previous and always let go. And we might add, all this has happened in the last 7 or 8 years.
Oh yeah, and it's now that I'm in this. I call it a club nobody wants to belong to. I am learning of so many horrific stories that never made the news, that will never make the news, and people are being harmed. I'm getting emails now and text and so forth from family members this lady whose son was beaten up brutally by 3 illegals who escaped. He had reconstructive surgery 3 times in his face. 5 years ago, he has not left his house. He's a recluse now. He's afraid of living life. He's 25 years old. The woman never got any justice for her child. Nobody ever heard this story. It's not just illegal aliens that are criminals. It's the ones that people say, oh, they're just here to support their families. Well, tell that to Don Rosenberg, my friend who reached out to me right after it happened, whose son, Drew, was killed in San Francisco, where Kate Steinle was killed. He was hit on his motorcycle by an illegal alien who drove without a license to take his kids to kindergarten. Well, the guy never had a criminal record, so when people say, well, let the good ones stay here. Well, do we have to wait until something happens before they turn bad? There are no good and bad illegals. Illegal is illegal no matter how you slice it, how you want to paint it, if you want to put the face of children or grandmothers on it. If you are here illegal, you got to go. You have to come back the legal way. It just, we can't afford this anymore. And then as long as we give out all these freebies, from welfare to whatever else, and driver licenses to illegals, it will never stop. They're always going to come. Of course, I would too. Matter of fact, I asked one representative in Washington, D.C., since I've been fighting this now for years. I asked him, I said, so how about if I denounce my American citizenship, I come back illegally, and then I can get the counseling I need to deal with the loss of my only child, because I can't get the help as an American citizen. I can't get it. I don't even qualify for victims advocate help, because I get alimony from my ex-husband. So I'm losing my only child. My family is destroyed. My family we can't Skype, we can't talk. I will never be a grandmother. I will never be a mother-in-law. And I'm kicked in the face every time I need help. So people wonder sometimes why we who've been victims get angry or disappointed with our government.
Well, folks, I mean, this is the reality of what's going on in our country. And, what has happened to Sabine, frankly, shouldn't happen to another American family, another American citizen ever again. Sabine, how can people help you? Well, basically, it's really helping ourselves. But how can people get in touch with you or help you with your cause to try to shut these borders down?
Well, I have a website. It's called DomHugs, 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 and I blog on there. I tell Dominic's story. There are pictures on there. He was such an extraordinary young man that had so much promise. He was volunteer of the year for our city, and he was a pilot. He was just an awesome guy. People can reach out. I'm on Twitter, Sabine Durden, Facebook. Just tell the story. Tell and wake up. Wake up, because it's happening everywhere. I'm telling people, do not hire anybody across the street from Home Depot because they can do it cheaper. You are risking a lot, and you encouraging this kind of behavior. There are little things people can do and finally wake up, because it can hit them at any given moment. Because this happens, 20 to 25 people daily in the United States get killed by an illegal alien. The media doesn't talk about it. The media doesn't even want to call them illegal aliens. They want to call them undocumented future citizens and paint it real pretty. Rod, since my son's death, I've been at it, and I've never been hurt. I've been to Washington, D.C. in 2013, and I testified in front of Trey Gowdy in a judiciary hearing, sharing Dominic's story. I walked out of that building in Washington, D.C. There were no cameras. There was nothing. It took poor Kate Steinle's death, and I talked to her mom probably about every week. It took her death for the media finally, they had no other choice to talk about it. And then shortly after that, Donald Trump spoke out and said what he said. And people were all upset about his tone, and I was at home cheering, screaming, hollering at the TV, because I knew the silence of this issue was finally over, because Donald Trump just came in like an avalanche. And he said something that many of us were thinking, but were afraid to say out loud, or were never quoted by any media. My story was told at first when people thought it was just a drunk driver. But then they faded away. They didn't want to talk to me because they realized I talked about something very uncomfortable. So with Mr. Donald Trump speaking out, and then a few days later, 2 days before Dominic's death anniversary, as I call it, he invited a few of us victims to L.A., and we met with him. And it was one of the most amazing meetings I've ever been to. He sat in a room with us, 5 families, and had us share our loved ones and what happened to us, and then gave us the chance to tell the media, because they were there for him. And I got to share, along with other families, Dominic's story. And the minute we left the Beverly Hills, the Beverly Wilshire Hotel, media was all over us. CNN called and sent a car for interview, and so then all of a sudden we were being heard. So Mr. Trump has become my personal hero, because without him, this issue would still be swept under the rug.
You know, actually, I'm hearing a lot of these anecdotal stories about the selflessness of Donald Trump more and more, and of course, you know, the narrative is Donald Trump is this arrogant of usurper and troublemaker. But you know, you got to ask, who are the real usurpers and troublemakers? And it's the people who are not. Look, we've got laws in the books against illegal immigration.
Exactly.
And we have people in our government who are not following the laws that are currently on the books. And because we have people in our government that are not following the laws that are already on the books, American citizens are literally dying.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That shouldn't happen in anybody's home country.
No. And you know, Rod, before this happened to me, I used to believe when I turned on the TV and I watched the local news or CNN or any other news, I thought I was being told what the news were. When I opened the newspaper, I thought I read what actually the news is. I thought that elected officials are doing whatever they can to keep their citizens that elected them into position safe. So I was just bobbleheading along until I realized it's not the case. We are being lied to many times. So we have to find different news sources. We can't just go with the local news and say, oh, okay, that happened. We have to dig a little bit deeper. We have to get a little bit more involved because now my family is destroyed. I have no family left. My mom is 96. She's living in Germany with my sister. So it's only my fiance and I here. But my immediate family is destroyed. People can't afford for their generations to be destroyed like that because they didn't know. We need to wake up and find other sources, listen to other people and dig a little bit deeper and hold those accountable in Washington that are not protecting us.
I could not agree with more. Sabine, please give your website address one more time.
It's www.domhugs.com.
All right.
And I would appreciate comments or look through it, read it, tell Dominic's story because it could be your child, your loved one's story at any moment. I
do thank you for calling in, and I know that this story is still painful for you, and my condolences for you and your family.
Thank you so much.
But I do thank you for being brave enough to call in and to continue talking about this because we do need to get some action on this once and for all. Sabine, thank you very much.
I have to honor my son's legacy, and that's the best way to do it, to keep talking about him and sharing. And I appreciate you very much for putting this out there and letting your listeners know what's going on.
Well, thank you. It's my pleasure. God bless you, Sabine.
Thank you, Rod, so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our number, the people, I'm sure that there are probably people that were trying to just call in to probably voice their opinion or their stories too. So if you were out, if you because I was enthralled with Sabine and I really wanted to get her story out there. So if you called and I did not put you on the air, please call back 603-835-3224. This is something that just should not happen in any country. And indeed, for the most part, it doesn't happen in any country. But there is this, for whatever reason, in certain countries, there is this aspect of you can be, legal and you can be harsh and you can be firm on everyone else except a particular segment of the population. In Europe, don't ever try to get into most European countries illegally. Don't ever try to say that you're there for political asylum and all that kind of stuff, unless you're Muslim. Now all of a sudden, that's a different story. In this country, don't you dare try to do stuff that is illegal, especially if you're a citizen or you're a legal immigrant. This government will throw the book at you. But all of a sudden, if you're an illegal immigrant from a Latin country, oh, well, now, you're not illegal. You're an undocumented worker or an undocumented citizen. Just like Sabine said, if you're a Muslim, we can't say that, a Muslim, Islam is a religion of peace and that all Muslims, we can't say all Muslims are terrorists. And we can't prevent Muslims from coming to the United States until we can figure out who's a terrorist and who's not, because that would be racist. But we can prevent others from coming here from Europe because, you can't have Africans from certain African countries coming here because we don't know, that they might be illegal criminal or something back in Africa. That we can't have them here, but we can let Muslims in. We have this group of people that are deciding to pick who and who should be who in this country. And I'm telling you, that has got to stop. We'll be back.